Good afternoon, everyone. Sunday, the 12th of March. We're back in the garage this weekend. Last weekend I didn't do a garage video because we were racing at Mablethorpe. That video is already online. If you want to go back, have a look at that one, give it a like, give it a share. That would be really useful to me. Although it doesn't look like there's been much progress in the garage, I can tell you there has. I have made the yokes, which I will show you now as soon as I've just got this fork leg off. I've made the yokes. I've also made a little battery box. These are all the bits I need to I just need to get everything on the bike at least where it's supposed to be, so I can weigh the thing. So I can weigh it and do all the measurements so that I can get the suspension sent off, grease sprung and valved and what have you. Okay, so the yokes that I've made using a original Ducati stem, I think that's Scrambler, although they're all pretty similar. The Ducati ones, they have a funny split top nut, so you don't actually use a lock nut. In fact, I'll just loosen these bolts and show you that, because I like it. I think it's a neat solution. I don't really know why other manufacturers haven't done the same. So what I actually did, I was going to make like some fully adjustable offset changing sort of yokes, but the bike, the Ducati, as it naturally, it is quite heavy, as far as flat track bikes go anyway. I'm not exactly svelte either, I'm like 18 stone, and we've got to do the TT on these. If you don't know what a TT is in flat track terms, it's not flat. A TT by definition has at least one right turn and one jump. So the problem is I've got to do a jump on this. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen any pictures, there's loads online and stuff, and it's actually happened in American flat track at a TT where the yokes have broken. That's not a crash that I want to have. So after speaking to a few of my friends and stuff, and I decided I was just gonna pick an offset, make the yokes to suit that offset, and just have them at that. And to be fair, I could reprofile them and make them a shorter offset if I really wanted to, if I found them a bit too long. So I went to the sort of longer side, and if I want to take 5 or 10 mil out of them, I'd say I've probably got space to do that. But right, so this split top nut thing, if you can see it, so that nut is going to split all the way through it. So when the top clamp goes on, like that, I nip those two bolts up. I nip those up, and that tightens that top clamp, and that locks it in place. No messing about with little C-spanners and fiddly little bits like you get on most just to set the preload on the bearings. I think it's a really neat solution. Anyway, so the yokes themselves are solid billet aluminium, pocketed out the bottom to save a bit of weight. I did it on the bottom so that when you're washing the bike, if it's muddy conditions and stuff, dirt and water doesn't sit on top and puddle. I've seen it where people have pocketed out and stuff like that, and it looks fine, it looks great, you know, it looks proper trick, but it's somewhere else for muck to sit when you've washed the bike, and if it's a mucky race day, it just sits in there, and I don't like that. I think it's a neat solution. Put it in the bottom, all the moisture and stuff falls out. Holes in there for mounting the number plate. 2 different positions for the bar mounts. They're standard Ducati. I think they're off the Scrambler for inch and 1/8 bars. You know, the fat bars, what everything is now. Yeah, so that's the top yoke. Bottom half. What a catch! Yeah, brand new bearings. Those are, if you went on my Instagram, give me a follow on there as well if you don't already. You'll see I posted a little thing about the bearings I ordered. I literally went on eBay and bought the cheapest bearings I could find that they were the right size, proper taper roller bearings that were the right size for the headstock and this diameter head tube. Got delivered. I've just expected them to be just some generic Chinese made thing. I don't know, but the Dunlop, by chance, quite pleased with that. I didn't even know Dunlop made bearings, but apparently they do. A few people pointed out that they did, so surprised I'd never seen them before. Anyway, moving on. So the bottom yoke rather, 3 bolts on the side instead of the 2, so it's slightly thicker. The bottom yoke does most of the work, takes most of the load. If you see modern superbike top yokes, there's nothing there. They are so thin, all machined out, all pocketed, and they're doing like, they're 200 plus horsepower, 200 plus mile an hour doing the TT with those things. They're strong enough, definitely. The bottom half is where all the strength is, so it's considerably thicker. I've gone for a similar sort of design that's clamps it in there. So if actually I want to change things, I haven't got to mess about pressing the stem out or anything like that. It's clamped in by 2 bolts. There you go, a fair distance in. They're proper high tensile 8.8 bolts. They are not going to break. What I've also done, because we race, this is one specific meeting that I had in mind when I did this. So it's got 4 little M6 mounting holes in the bottom. They are the right centres to run a Honda motocross front mudguard. And the reason I've done that is because at Ammon Valley, you get a load of spray off your front wheel. The front wheel's going round, and as you're trying to forward, the spray goes up forwards, and you run into your own spray. So that weekend, you see so many riders are all there taping bits up, putting tape around the fork legs, just to try and stop that. So do you know what? I thought while I'm making them, I pocketed all in the bottom side again, save a bit of weight, pocketed it all out, adds a bit of stiffness, keeping those ribs in there. Added those in so I can just mount a mudguard. Easy as that. So yeah, that's the bottom yoke. Yeah, I think I've done a nice neat job with those. I'll show you the battery tray that I make. So I bought a new battery, a motor bat. Heard good thing about these. This is not a plug. I'm yet to test its use in actual, being used, but nice little battery, a lot smaller. Well, no, I mean, this was the battery we used last year, and it was fine. We never had any problems with charging, any problems with running out of electricity. The problem being, it's just that bit thicker, if you can see that there. Bit thicker and a bit longer. So the only thing is, this one is taller by a little bit, but importantly, it's narrower and shorter. So I can mount it where I want, which is about there. So what I have done, just quickly folded up out of a bit of thin aluminium. I'm not sure how thick that is. Looks like 2 mil. 1.5 mil, maybe I can measure that for you now. 1.5 mil. 1.5 mil aluminium, literally cut out with a grinder, folded up using the vise. What I will do is add some foam inside there so it's supported and sort of cushioned a little bit so it's not rattling around. But what I can do, 2 bits of old inner tube cut into strips, one that way, one that way. That'll hold it in. There's space there for the terminals to get to the top. I can cut those back a little bit if it does interfere. And I'm hoping that will fit about there. So what I'm going to do, because the coils need somewhere to mount on the frame, 2 Ducati coils. There isn't much of a wiring loom, but this is kind of most of it. Spoke to someone, they're quite happy and think it's a good idea. what I'm going to do is piggyback the coils together, you on the mounting point only. So I'll make some spacers that will go sort of between here. So it's got those spaces already. So basically it'll be something like that, but a bit longer, just so that they're not actually touching when I bolt them up. So they'll be kind of that, just with a bit of an air gap between them so they don't overheat or anything daft like that. And then those are going to go at that side. So I'll make a bracket that welds to the bottom of the main tube with the hole centres at the right size for that. The bracket probably out of steel. I'll make it fairly thick so that what I can do is drill and tap it. I don't want to be messing about trying to get in with holding nuts on and things like that. It's all right if you can get to both sides of the bracket easily, like here, that's fine. But if it's underneath and things like that, excuse me, I would rather have it drilled and tapped so you can just wind a nut in, a bolt in rather, and it's job done. So that'll mount on one side and that's going to mount on the other. So if you imagine the top tube is running here and they'll be sort of sandwiched like that sort of thing. The other bits I've got to make. So we are getting through jobs now. I was getting a bit panicky, thinking I'm not going to be ready for time. I need to make a few little tabs and bits and bobs just for mounting stuff. The fuel pump probably going to go in here. The fuel tank, as I said before, will be there. So the fuel pump here, and the start solenoid. I'll just mount it in here somewhere. I'll find a space and just make a little bracket to tack on. That's not necessary. It can be free floating, that actually. It's not like it needs an earth or anything like that, but I'd rather it was mounted solidly. It's not rattling around and causing any issues and getting broken or breaking wires or anything. So next job, what I'm going to do is, I'll show you these actually. I think these were a pretty good buy. On a similar vein to the not having pockets in the top of your yokes and things like that, like, here's another issue with the ducati engine. Because the horizontal cylinder is laid flat, muck and debris and stuff lands on top of the cylinder and gets stuck there. It just adds a bit extra to cleaning. But also with chassis bolts, you know, like your engine bolts, things like that, there's a reason why big manufacturers like Honda, well, all of them in fairness, but the main guys are all known for it. They don't use cap head bolts, you know, like an Allen bolt, like one of those. They tend not to use those, especially on the engine, especially in places that are exposed. And this is because moisture and muck collects in them. If you need to then get in with an Allen key, it won't go in because it's full of muck and you're stressing out and things like that. So what actually I've done is bought, mainly for the chassis, there's a few other places I can put them, the shock mounts and stuff like that. These lovely yellow zinc bolts, again, high tensile 8.8s, nice and strong. Flanged head on them, so they make a nice neat job. You don't need a washer rattling about on there. Probably need a washer on the nut side, but that's hidden anyway. So yeah, nice neat little solution that doesn't collect muck, doesn't get stuff trapped in, and they just look nicer. More nice, is that a word? I don't know. My English isn't my strong point. So yeah, we've got those as well. Nice little addition. Anything else I can show you? We'll keep this one a little short video. It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow, so we're going out for Sunday dinner, which is her favourite meal. Ask her anything that she wants. She can have anything in the world. Most kids, I don't know, they're going to say pizza or hot dogs or burgers or anything. No. Sophia wants Sunday dinner, and that's good. That's fine by me. I'm happy with that. Actually, on that, it's really funny. If you have a barbecue, so you have a barbecue at home, what's like your favourite thing to have on the barbecue? People are going to say same, aren't they? Like burgers, steak, Chinese chicken wings. I don't know. These are, they're all going to go for those similar sorts of things. Not my daughter. Oh no. Sophia, what's your favourite thing on a barbecue? Salad. Can a normal 7-year-old say salad as their favourite thing on a barbecue? My daughter, that's who. She's a maniac. I wouldn't have her any other way. She's amazing. Right, I'm going to get this front wheel out of here so that then we can mock it all up properly with the new yokes in. That's the other thing why I need to get the yokes in dead quick. I need to mark out the steering stops. So it's one last job I've got to do on it. I might even be able to do it on the pillar drill in here, save taking it to work and doing it there. I just need to put it in, put the fork in, or just one fork leg probably. Index the index, oscillate, turn it to full stop, and then see whereabouts it is before it hits the frame rail. And I need to drill and tap a hole each side in there for a little. I am actually going to use a cap head for. I know I've been slating cap heads the whole time I've been doing this video. We're going to have a cap head with a aluminium sleeve bobbin, I suppose you could call it, either side of there, and that'll act as a steering stop. There's a tab welded on the front of the head tube, so the tab in front here, so it'll be, and that's what I'm going to need to mark out now. But I can just whip this out, offer it up without the bearings in, make sure we've got the lengths something like. But have I tightened those up? I bet I have. Absolute imbecile. I have. Why would I have done that? Ridiculous. Right. And now I can't find the right size Allen key. I'm sure I just had it. There it is. Just slacking the. Oh. How slack? Okay, just me being an idiot. Yeah, give that a knock. There we go. She's coming. These are the old ones from last year. Did a job. Weren't really up to it. That was the top yoke that I made. Like, I only needed to make a top yoke because the bottom yoke was fine. The offset wasn't far off. But that's what I did last year. It worked, but that's about all can be said for it, really. It worked. It did a job. Served a purpose. Not pretty, but it did what it needed to do when we needed it to do it. Right. Lose that bearing. Let me put it with the others. Put the top and bottom on. Should be fine doing this without. Yeah, so I'm just going to have to nip that up. Just so I can make some marks at where I want the steering stops. And on there. Hopefully we won't be a million miles away. Speaking of offset, I don't think I actually gave you any figures. The figures used are some that I've come up with based on research of what everyone else uses, what they use in the States. After all, flat track is an American sport. They've done it for donkey's years. They know it inside out. So I've tried to get the dimensions, all the geometry, similar to a wood Rotax, famously known for handling really well. It were a bit longer than a standard Rotax because of the size of the engine. Can't get round that. In the future, might be able to make a different swinging arm, change the shock mount. We might be able to shorten ourselves up by another couple of inches. But we'll see how it handles. It might be fine as it is. For my level of riding, that is anyway. The other thing is we're guilty of it in the UK of copying what the Americans have done with their bikes, which is fine in normal operation, but you know they're all set up for like half mile and mile racing as well. Like a clay half mile puts very, very different strains on your motorcycle and different requirements from what you're going to get doing short track, because that's what we do here. We do short track racing. Even Ammon Valley, which is billed as our half mile, it's not actually half a mile. It's about 3/8 of a mile. It's just short of a half mile. Even running there, it's a deep track in the States. The only thing you can sort of compare that to would be Lima, I'd guess. That's the other deep, that's pea gravel, kind of similar surface. It's the only one that's going to be anything like what we do over here. They run everything really tall, you know, more, not like you'd run it for a clay mile or clay half mile, where it's like, it's almost like road racing. The two-wheeling, they're not big drifts and stuff like that. So they set the bikes up very differently to how you'd run on a short track. If you look at a DTX bike, quick definition, DTX bike is a modified motocross bike. If you look at one of those in the States set up for short track, it's very tall, very much more similar to a motocross setup than set up for dirt track, where everything's lowered and, you know, a lot stiffer and stuff like that. We get a little bit, you know, tied up on all the different bits and bobs to do with it, but, you know, everyone has their own ideas. None of them are necessarily wrong. These are just my ideas. So I need a pen. Get my Sharpie, trusty Sharpie. Not a plug, just it's the best pen. Right, so we can have quite a lot of. We can get all the way around there before he gets to the air filter, which will probably drop the bodywork on. See where that's. I can always cut the bodywork back if it is an issue. Drop my pen now. This is the last thing we'll do, and we'll call the video to a stop there, but let's just. Okay, so that's. I mean, that's plenty anyway. Probably want to stop about there. So I will do a circle there. And I'm hoping a circle there. And that should look fairly symmetrical when I whip it off. Anyway, thank you for watching. We'll do another update when I've got something else good to show you, hopefully next Sunday. Let's get cracked on. I'll get this thing on its wheels properly, get it weighed. I was asking a few people how they go about weighing bikes, because I need to know the difference between the front and the rear for setting up the suspension. What I'm going to have to do is just buy a cheap set of like household scales, you know, what you stand on, and I'll just have to sit each wheel on it separately with the other end chocked up to the same height and just weigh each wheel individually. That should be good enough. I know how much I weigh, which is a lot. We can weigh it, and then I can get the bouncy bits out and sent off to Ben at BG Motorsport, and that will get me well on the way. It'll be then stripping down, paint everything, build it back up, ready for the middle of April. Fingers crossed.